little town. The ones that look like they're straight out of a Ghibli movie, all quaint and peaceful? Well, let me tell you about a town called Ethelgard, and a boy who was anything but ordinary. Our story starts with Kaito. Now, Kaito wasn't your typical shonen hero. He wasn't loud, he wasn't obsessed with getting stronger, and he definitely wasn't the chosen one. Or so he thought. Kaito's special talent. He could see, well, not ghosts, but echoes. Faint, shimmering imprints of past events, clinging to objects and places like morning dew. To him, an old teacup wasn't just a cup. It was a silent movie of every conversation shared over it. It was mostly a nuisance, like having a constant, distracting hum in the back of your mind. Then there's Ilara. If Kaito is the quiet observer, Ilara is the storm. She blew into Ethelgard one summer day. Not on the wind, but on a ridiculously souped-up, steam-powered motorcycle that coughed black smoke. She had silver hair tied in a messy bun, goggles perpetually perched on her forehead, and fingers always smudged with grease and something that glowed faintly in the dark. She called herself a temporal mechanic, claiming she fixed cracks in the timeline. Everyone in town just thought she was a weird, eccentric artist. Kaito avoided her. Her presence was loud. Not her voice, but her echo. It was a chaotic jumble of images, gears turning backwards, cities of glass shattering and reforming, skies of colors he'd never seen. It gave him a headache. But one day, something strange happened. The town's ancient clock tower, a landmark that hadn't chimed in a century, suddenly began to tick backwards. One tick, then two. The townspeople just thought it was a weird malfunction, but Kaito saw it. With each backward tick, the colors of the town began to fade ever so slightly. The vibrant green of the moss on the stones turned a little duller. The bright red of the post box a little paler. It was like the town's very soul was being desaturated. He panicked. This wasn't a simple echo. It was an event happening in reverse. He knew instinctively that the only person who would understand was the crazy girl with the steam-powered bike. He found Ilara in her workshop, which was a glorious mess of whirring gadgets and half-finished inventions. She wasn't surprised to see him. In fact, she was waiting. "You can see it, can't you?" she said, not even looking up from a complex watch she was tinkering with. "The temporal decay. I've been tracking it for weeks. It's a chronovore and a time eater. And here's the twist. Kaito thought his ability was a curse, just a weird sensory overload. But Ilara revealed the truth. He wasn't just seeing echoes. He was seeing the threads of time itself. His curse was the key. The chronovore wasn't some big monster. It was a subtle parasite nesting in the clock tower, feeding on the town's potential futures, causing its past to unravel. That's why the colors were fading. The memories and moments that gave the town its vibrancy were being erased. Ilara explained she could build a device to trap the chronovore, but she couldn't see it. She was flying blind. She needed a navigator. She needed Kaito. So this quiet boy who just wanted to be left alone and this chaotic mechanic from another time had to team up. Kaito, using his sight, had to guide Ilara through the tangled, decaying timelines inside the clock tower. It was a dizzying, terrifying experience for him. He saw futures that would never be, festivals that wouldn't happen, children who would never be born, all fading into gray nothingness. In the heart of the clockwork, they found it, a being of fractured light and shadow, humming a dissonant tune that was the backward ticking of the clock. Using a device Ilara called a temporal anchor, Kaito had to focus his sight, pinpointing the creature's core while it thrashed and showed him visions of his own lonely past to distract him. But for the first time, his ability felt like a strength. He held firm, guiding Ilara's energy beam right to the heart of the beast. With a final silent scream, the chronovore imploded. The backward ticking stopped, and then a single clear resonant chime rang out from the tower for the first time in 100 years. Kaito stumbled out into the sunlight, and the world was overwhelming. The green of the moss was the most intense green he'd ever seen. The red of the postbox was a fiery, joyful red. The town wasn't just back to normal. It was more alive than ever before, filled with the restored promise of its future. His ability wasn't gone, but it had changed. The echoes were no longer a noisy. Now they were a gentle melody, a quiet song of history and hope. Kaito was no longer just an observer. He was a guardian. And with Ilara sticking around because, as she put it, the timeline's always got a few loose screws, His quiet life in that small mountain town was about to get a whole lot more interesting.